Hello everyone. In this section of videos, we are going to understand the exceptions and exception handling in Java. Again, a very important section. So in this first video, in the introduction, let us understand what is an exception. So exception is nothing but an event that occurs during the execution of a program which disrupts the normal flow of the application. Any event that occurs which disrupts the normal flow of the application. Like for example, over here, let us take a string. Let's say string x is equal to null. I'm just declaring it as null. And then on the second line, I'm trying to do something like x dot length. Okay, we are trying to get the length of the string, but the string currently is null. Now, when we run the program, let's see what happens. We see the error. Also, let's do one more thing. Let's just add another line of code after this line 25. Let's say hello world. So I just want to say that after the line where we found an error, an exception, we have some more line of code after that as well. Now what happens is when you run the program again, you see the hello world never got printed. So one point is sure that the program has been disrupted. The execution of the program has been forced, terminated at line number 25. And then we have some information about the event, what happened. So it says exception in the main thread, because it is the main method where we found it. And then this is the name of the exception, it is null pointer exception. And then this is more information of the methods, the call stack where it occurred. So what happens is whenever Java encounters an unexpected event which terminates the program, which disrupts the normal flow of the execution of the program, it creates the instance of an exception class. There is an exception class inbuilt in Java, and whenever we have such an event occurs, it creates an exception object, and now that object is handed over to JVM. The instance, the object of exception clause is created, that is called as exception object. What does it contain? The exception object contains simply two things. One is the error, the information about the error, what is it, and the state of the program. Now what JVM does, whenever JVM receives this kind of exception object, it tries to go through the call stack. Now this is another terminology. What is call stack? It's easy. It is just the structured hierarchy of methods. Like in Java, one method calls another method, that calls another method, that calls another method. So it tries to go through all the methods in the hierarchy, method 1, method 2, method 3, and try to see where it occurred to check if we have any code to handle it. Okay, how to handle the exceptions is what we will see in upcoming sessions, but that's what it happens whenever an event like this occurs. The exception object is created and that object is handed over to JVM. JVM tries to go through the call stack and find out where exactly the exception occurs, in which exact method it occurred, and do we have any steps already written in the program. Now those steps which are already written in the program to handle that unexpected situation is called as exception handling. As simple as that. So what is an exception? Again, any event which disrupts the normal flow of the execution is the exception. Now there are a lot of types. I mean, we have seen, remember saying the string index out of boundaries exception, or the array index out of boundaries exception, null pointer we have already seen here, or divide by 0. Like for example, you are trying to do something like this here, say 100 divided by 0. Okay. And when you run the program over here, again in line number 25, you get this exception. This kind of arithmetic exception, you cannot divide by 0. So this is the exception object which contains the information about the error. Okay, and then along with this we have several terminologies like what is throw, what is throws, what is try, what is catch, what is finally, etc. So basically whenever an exception is created, this exception object is created, we call it as exception is thrown. Now whatever exception is thrown, we can catch it, and when we say we can catch it, we catch it to handle the exception, to provide the steps so that the program does not get terminated in between, and it should continue by doing some steps, by following some other code, and it should continue. So that is the part of exception handling which we'll see in the next sessions. Thank you.